Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We have reached Hadith number 28 from Al-Arba'un al-Nawawi, the Hadith compilation by Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah. It is narrated عن أبي نجيح الإرباض بن سارية رضي الله عنه قال: وعظنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم موعظة وجلت منها القلوب وذرفت منها العيون، فقلنا يا رسول الله كأنها موعظة مودع فأوصنا. So there was a time when we were, having the maw'idah from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he was advising us, a place where our hearts were trembling and our eyes were in tears, and it was as if the final message of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam that he was giving to us. And we asked Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam to do wasiyah, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, usikum bi taqwallah. And that's the very first thing that he started. He said, Usikum, I give you advice, or I give you wasiyah, I do wasiyah to follow after me. The first thing, bitaqwallahi azza wa jal, that you are pious to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you have the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart. The taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that we always have to strive to achieve, that we be fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we obey His commandments, that we always have and be conscious that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching over us. And the second thing Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he mentioned, وَالسَّمْعِ وَالطَّاعَةِ وَإِن تَأَمَّرَ عَلَيْكُمْ عَبْدٌ, that even if a slave was to be made your ruler, that you still obey your authorities in terms of the ones who rule over you and the ones who are in authority over you. So this is a very important hadith that is mentioned by Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam in terms of sam' and ta'a, that as Muslims we have to obey our Muslim authorities as long as those Muslim authorities or rulers do not go out of Islam. Sometimes we might see that certain types of rulers might cause fasad, might cause certain types of corruptions, which we should not obey them in that. We should stay away, and we should make sure that we preach what is good and we prohibit things from evil. But in terms of fighting against the ruler or fighting against the authority, when it comes to this, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, upon you is sam' and ta'a, that you follow the authorities. This is the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the best of our teachers. These are kalam, meanings that come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah knows what is the best for us. Sometimes we see that certain person who is in authority, he makes one or two mistakes, maybe our manager, maybe someone who is running the masjid, or maybe some of the brothers who are organizing certain things. Because they do one or two mistakes, we be like, oh no, these people are not the correct people to do things, rather we have to replace them with someone else. And when we replace, when we fight and we go ahead and sometimes we replace, most of the time we see that the things are worse than the times before it, unless or except when before it was not based on deen. For example, we have authorities, they rule things or they run a masjid not by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us in Quran and from the Sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but they run on their own fashion or style. So here it's a different matter. But when it comes to things where they're trying their best to run it on by the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they make mistakes, here it's upon us to advise them and give them good advice. Likewise, the rulers, we try our best to advise them and try to give them the best of advices. And if they were to make mistakes and do things that are wrong, or they were to corrupt, we should not be part of those corruptions. We should not be the ones encouraging the corruptions. Rather, we should counsel people to good, and we should prohibit things that are evil. But again, fighting against the ruler or taking this as an opportunity to fight against the ruler, or changing the whole thing, is something that would ruin the country or the area more and more. And we have seen this in many countries that happened. And this is the reason why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, as-sam'i wa-ta'a wa in ta'ammara alaykum abd, that even though there is a slave who would be made the ruler. Because nowadays we have, we see this issue where in our society we have people who think, oh, I can do things better, or we are able to do things better than those people, we have been blessed with so and so and so, and why is that person made the ruler, why is so and so made the ruler? And we don't understand here that we forgot the sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was the same exact words the Israel, they said, Banu Israel, they said, when Talut was made the king, فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ بِالْجُنُودِ, and when he was after that made the king, they asked, أَنَّا يَكُونُ لَهُ الْمُلْكِ, yani, how could we give the kingship to him? How could he be the ruler? We have more mal, we have more wealth, we have more power, we have more things that we should be the one who should be given. And having this feeling, or having this part of where I have ego attitude and I should be the one ruling over or being in authority, is something that causes big corruption in society. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he went on to say, فَإِنَّهُ مَنْ يَعِشْ مِنْكُمْ, the one who lives longer from you, فَسَيَرَى اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا, he will find so many differences that happens in the society from the Muslim ummah. فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي, in this place it is upon you, it's obligated upon you to follow the path of me, that is Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his sunnah, and وَسُنَّةِ الْخُلَفَاءِ الرَّاشِدِينَ الْمَهْدِيِّينَ, and the sunnah of the Khulafa al-Rashidin, that is Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali radiyallahu an ridwanullahi alayhim. Addu alayha bin nawajid, and he said, hold on to it so firmly, like as if you're holding on to something or biting onto something from your molars. So we use this term in Arabic to show, or to show how firmly we hold on to something. So holding on to the Quran and Sunnah during times of fitna, during times of differences and trials and tribulations, is a must, and that is the only thing that will save us. وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَمُحْدَثَاتِ الْأُمُورِ, and be careful and cautious of things of innovation, things that you innovate in deen. فَإِنَّ كُلَّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ, indeed every single bid'ah, that is every single innovation that is made as an ibadah, which is not prescribed or was not told by Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is a bid'ah. And every single thing, even though you think sometimes we might want to do some good out of this, if it was not part of deen in asl, in its origin, then it is indeed a bid'ah. It will end up in dalalah, it will end up in things that are wrong. And that is what the previous nations did until they went completely off, where they started telling that Allah is not one but Allah is three. A'yadhan billah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He guides us, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He makes us from the muttaqeen, the ones who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ones who follow the sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the Khulafa al-Rashidin.